Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are. Hosted by Desiree Duffy.
Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Desiree Duffy. I am the host of Books That Make You. And today we are talking about books that make you go from being barefoot to benefactor and helping others despite adversity. Stories of people who give service to others and make sacrifices are some of the most compelling, aren't they? Especially when the person is doing everything in their power to help other people, but they themselves encounter adversity in the form of anti-immigration sentiments and prejudices, lack of cultural understanding. Despite the daunting odds, our guest today went from being barefoot to benefactor, Dr. Lenny Peters. He delivers his story in his gripping memoir. Dr. Peters is renowned in North Carolina as the founder of the Revolutionary Medical Network, a bank for the underserved, a cutting-edge research facility, and a world-class charity foundation, as well as being an accomplished and caring physician, of course. Most would be surprised to discover that his humble roots is in the small village of Kerala, India, and his hard-fought journey to achieve his ambitions to gain acceptance as an immigrant of color were just fraught with different adversities. His book is called Barefoot to Benefactor, My Life Story of Faith and Courage. Dr. Peters, hi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you today?
I am very good. Your story grabs my attention because I'm always struck when people are doing everything in their power to help others, to serve others, to heal others, and then they themselves are victims of anti-immigration sentiment and adversity. I mean, you've just gone through so much to do what you're doing today. So first of all, I want to thank you and applaud you for that. And second, how about if we start with, in your own words, tell us your backstory. Take us back to when you were barefoot, if you could, Dr. Peters.
I was born in the southern most part of India, a state called Kerala. It's a small village with no running water or electricity. I'm the third of three children. My mother struggled to take care of us. I was somewhat blessed to be able to have an accelerated program to go to pre-med when I was 14 years old. So before I left, our walk every day to school or every place we need to go was across the paddy fields barefoot. So you couldn't have shoes, but we didn't have them anyway. So that's where that comes from. And at age 14, we packed two bags. One bag my father carried and the other one I carried. We went to the city and I stayed there to start my medical career and graduated from medical school very early. And then I had this desire to understand who the British people were, because the British ruled India for 400 years. So there was always a sentiment among youngsters about some of the wrongs that have been done to Indians and Indian subcontinent by the British. But I also wanted to see what good they do. Sometimes you can get angry about some of the adversities and some of the wrongdoings of others, but we can also look for goodness. So I learned that British people built railway north to south, east to west, and united the country. Without that, it would have been a country of about 30 different small countries like Africa fighting with each other. So they united us. They gave the language, international language of English. So that's why I could write a book in English. And all medical school teaches medicine in English. So it's easily transferable, your degree, to Europe or to any English-speaking country in the world, Australia, New Zealand, United States. So I wanted to go to London and learn who these people were. So to talk in terms of adversity, I was born poor. I had this whole baggage of thought process where what was wrong with my people. So I went to London. I didn't know anyone. There was a person who I never met before, was willing to sponsor me, and took me to his East London one room that he stayed. He gave me his bed, and he slept on the floor. And he cooked some food on the stove in the same room. That was my first day in London. But I studied and stayed in London for many years. And what happened was that I was able to continue to understand the British people and what the goodness they have, and I realized that they're good people. Except that they were a small island and they needed to travel, and they were very purposeful, purpose-driven culture. I worked my way up towards the end of 5 years. I was working for Sir Grey. He was in the royal family. Okay. He was a doctor, and he had 3 hospitals. And I was his first assistant, and I ran 3 hospitals for him. I had 50 other doctors below me. And in return for all of that I did for him, he will invite me to his home, to his palace, which is outside London, to play croquet every Sunday evening and have dinner at his palace. So from the day I arrived from one room in the worst part of London, when I left, I was playing croquet with the royalty.
Oh, wow. Wow. What a journey. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate how you're framing British as being, they wanted to explore places, because there is, you're seeing the positives and the good side of colonialism. There's obviously some really bad stuff going on there. So I think it's interesting the way you embraced and adapted and were able to use it, because so many people kind of get lost in the prejudices and the negative aspects of it, and you're not that kind of person, I can see. Can you talk a little bit, and maybe I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, you're in North Carolina now. How was that when you arrived in North Carolina? Did you experience a little bit of culture shock there, perhaps?
Yeah, I came from up north. I was at University of Pittsburgh and New York, and southern states were a different world altogether. Mm-hmm. So when I came to North Carolina, a town, I bought a practice, and I started. There was only 2 doctors of color, African Americans. They were on the other side of the railway. And they didn't know what to make of me. I'm dark-skinned, speak English with an accent. How can an Indian be a doctor? They only seen famine and death of children on TV. That's happening in India. But I already had 6 degrees after my MD by the time I started. So I was well qualified. So there was a significant amount of resistance and prejudice, to the point where many folks wanted me out of town, run me out of town. So it was many levels of resistance among my peers. They would not share patients with me. The hospital board of trustees would not allow us to go to the hospital or give privileges, at many levels. But the essence was for me to leave town. But I took another approach, and I said, God didn't bring me here to leave. So I'm going to stay here. So if even though the system was framed to to create prejudice, mostly because of lack of understanding. There were good people like Sir Grey. He was a renowned doctor in the same town called N. Hampton Childs. Couldn't be any more Southern than him.
Mm-hmm.
He was the pillar of the community, came trained at Mayo Clinic. He had the best practice in the area with all the well-to-do people. So I sent 100 letters to a lot of different doctors in the area asking anyone wants to sell their practice. So he was the one who called me and said, I invite you to come and talk to me. So when I visited him, he said it was a little bit of a shock for him to see me first. He didn't expect, because he only saw Lenny Peters.
Mm-hmm.
So
did you change your name?
No, I did not. It's
okay.
I can talk about that. That's in India, Christians, we are less than 5%, but we have fair number of European names. My mother's side was all Lopez, Spanish descent. My grandfathers were all Peters, and the name, my father was Joseph Peters, my brother is George Peters, my sister is Gladys Peters. So it was like that. It's a culture. There was Pereiras, there's Fernandez and Gomez and so on. So he was, Dr. Childs was somewhat shocked, but he sat me down and we talked, and he said, if I sell this practice, I will sell it to you, Dr. Peters. So he did. And he stayed with me, and he said, first day, you are the boss. I worked for you for 2 years. So it's a good deal, a handshake, no documents. He trusted me, I trusted him. The reason I'm saying about him is that we can still find goodness in an environment there is so much prejudice.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit. How do you do that? What happens when you face somebody who is prejudiced? How do you bring them to a place of understanding?
The tool that I have used is the power of forgiveness. That's the ultimate power a person can have. So if we, instead of getting angry at them, you pray to say, give me the power to forgive. So I think that's the main explanation I can give. Instead of being afraid and do something not so nice, there's always this theory about why someone shoots another person. Is that the person is afraid that person will shoot you. So instead, not being afraid and try to leave town, you stay and work at it and say, I forgive. And over a period of time, people turn around. And now I'm the largest developer in the area. I'm the largest minority-owned business of any kind in the state of North Carolina.
Wow.
Number 2 is Michael Jordan.
Oh, that's fabulous. Okay. I do want to ask you about your companies, and I want to touch on the Lenny Peters Foundation as well. But first, let's jump over to your writing journey. So you've written this book. You yourself embarked on a journey just by writing a book. I often equate the author's writing journey as one where quite often they're discovering things about themselves, especially if they're writing a memoir or writing their story. What did you discover about yourself, Dr. Peters, while writing your book, Barefoot to Benefactor?
Well, the reason I wrote the book is I had the blessing to live in 4 continents, work and pay taxes. So that's unique. And I had the ability to work as a doctor in 4 continents. So, and every place I went, even in Africa, in Nigeria, there was prejudice. I was not dark enough for them. And in North Carolina, I'm too dark. It's a different ways of prejudices. And I wanted to say those things exist, but you can still do well and have peace and have a self-satisfaction and open your soul if you use the power of forgiveness. So that's the main reason I wanted to share my history. My story with others can be inspirational. It's not. I do not know anyone who can change yesterday. I do not know anyone who can accurately predict tomorrow. So what do we have? We have today. So what we do today is what matters. Let's not just embark on or keep talking about what happened 10 years ago, 400 years ago for me in India, all the bad things that were done. Where would that take me? But if I were to use the power of forgiveness and say, yes, these things have happened, and I need to document that, it cannot be denied. You cannot forget those things, but you can forgive. So that is the reason I started writing the book. As I started writing, what I found about myself is that it's an example I would give. You talk about it. What is the most important part of a tree? Is that the branches, the leaves, the flowers, the fruits? No, it's the roots. So what I found was that I have the ability to recognize where I come from and what my purpose in life is. I strongly rooted in my belief, in my people. So even when I became very successful, I did not forget India, because there was a reason I was born there. There was a reason I was born a Christian there. So I started my foundation. So it was an understanding of who I am is what this book did for me, talking about my mother, talking about my grandfather. My mother had to give me away because she couldn't raise me to my grandfather. So he raised me for several years. So I sit with him. I see he's a very powerful man, has a very good acceptance in the community, and a lot of people come to him for advice. So I sit and watch the way he deals with people. It was very inspirational for me as a young person. So go back and think about all of those things that deeply rooted who I am and find myself. And that probably what really helped me. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I've done 3 degrees, 2 degrees after my MD in London. It's very difficult exams. But that wasn't as difficult as writing this book, because the details has to be correct. The language has to be good. The words have to be picked correctly, because once in print, you cannot take it back.
Yeah.
So that's what
I might want to quote you on that how hard writing is. I talk to so many first-time authors or people who want to embark on that journey, and I'm always saying it's not as easy as you think, so I appreciate that you've learned so much from it.
Yeah, it was difficult, especially get the names correct, all the timing right. And I have a good team of people help me, look at the historical significance of various things that I wrote about.
Sure.
For example, I wrote about Christianity in India and Judaism in India, which many people ever have written about. And so I needed to put those things in print from a perspective of one person born there. So those are the things that I was able to understand about myself, but while sharing my story, that as an immigrant is one. But it's not just an immigrant story. It's also to share my story with those of us in our country that feel like they haven't gotten a good share of our prosperity. And it's a real reality. It is a real reality to them, and it's a reality in many areas. However, I think if we are too polarized and we're going to not talk to each other, we will never going to move forward. So as an immigrant coming from outside and saying, well, if I can make it, there is no poor person in America, because anyone born in the United States is already born in one of the richest countries in the world, and also have equal opportunities and is a very blessed nation. but you're
Yes.
only poor when you are poor in a poor country in the world. So I understand, yes, there are prejudices in which we need to overcome, racial and other ways. But let's have a positive outlook. And so that's why I wanted to tell my story. You know, if I can make it, I am.
If you can do it, then anybody can do it anywhere. I think too. Now, may I add, I have been to North Carolina. I understand the people and the culture there. I've also been to India. So I do have some understanding. Now, granted, I was only there for a few weeks, but we did drive and travel the countryside. So I saw, firsthand how vastly different it is from the United States. And you're right. India has many religions. Christianity is one of them, but it is small. Do you think that being Christian and being born in a country where you were already a little bit of a fish out of water because you had all of these other religions and Christianity was a small minority, do you feel that being a small minority from the beginning set the stage for you to be able to go to the UK, to be able to go to the United States? Because no matter where you've gone, you've always kind of had that fish out of water thing. In Africa, you weren't quite dark enough. In the United States, you were too dark. It seems like you, Dr. Peters, have always been just a little out of place, but maybe that's what has helped shape your understanding.
That is very good observation. Absolutely fantastic. Yes, from the day I was born, the prejudice was there in the same country I was born. And because 70% are Hindus, so it is a battle from day one. And my mother had told us from very beginning, if you want to live, you have to fight this battle. Mm-hmm. So we were prepared to do that. So that was the first experience. So in any other countries I went, when I feel that, yes, I have already experienced it. So this is not new. I survived those. I could go to pre-med age 14, even when everything was set up against us. So yes, that was a good point, and I think that has been a factor that propelled me through all these areas over the years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, you have founded 7 different companies and served as CEO. Let's shift over to your business side a little bit, because that's quite an accomplishment right there.
Yes. So I'm a doctor by training. Several 30 years ago, I decided, instead of just being a gastroenterologist, I'm trained as a gastroenterologist, I wanted to create a wholesome clinic that can welcome everyone. So I named the clinic Bethany. It comes from Bible, where Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, different types of people, united by their love for their fellow villagers. So I was one of the early ones to take Medicaid patients. We made it a point. We opened 7 days a week. Anyone can walk in. It is a unique model, and no one else could compete with it. And we were, one exam room will be seeing a millionaire, and the next exam room will be seeing a person in a wheelchair, a Medicaid patient who has nothing. And we kept that. Even it was being questioned, why do you do all of this? You can be a gastroenterologist, make a lot of money. So we took a different approach and created this company, which is a multi-specialty provider of healthcare. It's the largest independently owned provider of healthcare in the state. And we have 15 specialties. We are in 15 different locations. That has grown. We see over 1,300 patients through our doors each day. So wow. That has been a big experience. And we have a medical research company. I was a researcher for many years. I kept that interest, called Peters Medical Research. So we partner with our patients today for miracles of tomorrow to invent new medications or new procedures and so on. And during all of this time, I always had an entrepreneurial side. Back in 1991, when all the savings and loan were failing, I had this idea that we should start a commercial bank. So we talked to three of my friends, and we decided to apply for a license. So to start a bank, I am the only doctor who ever applied for a license for a bank in the state. So we started a commercial bank. We wanted to start very quickly. We didn't have time to build a building, because once you get a license, someone else can question it, or we can be put in a lot of other legal issues. So we wanted to just put the bank together. We started in a double wide trailer, the bank, and we first loan. So I told my friends, I want to be the chairman of the loan committee for life, because by the time we opened our doors, we were the largest investors, but we had 600 people investing with us. 7 years later, we took it public to NASDAQ. I still remain the senior most director and chairman of the loan committee for 25 years. So we took that bank from a double wide trailer to 3 states, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia, and 68 cities.
Wow.
And it was a $12 billion bank. When we merged with Pinnacle, which is in Tennessee, now it's a 4-state bank.
Wow.
I am off the board now because I'm doing more charity work. 3 years ago, we started another small commercial bank in Greensboro, North Carolina, with my daughter. She's the vice chair, I'm the chair. That's an experience that I wanted her to have, how to start a bank and do it. So that's my banking side. The medical side we talked about. Then we have a 30-year history of developing properties and so on. But over the last 10 years, we pretty aggressively moved it forward. There are 3 companies in the real estate side. One of them is a development company. The other one is a capital company. So,
okay.
And those 3 are developing shopping centers, real properties for commercial, and then the last one is our foundation, the Lenny Peters
yes,
Foundation.
I do. Yes, thank you. I want to talk about the Lenny Peters Foundation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we are in healthcare, financial services, and real estate. So, and 7 companies there. And the last one is the foundation, which we believe that every blessing that we receive, we have to return a good portion of it. So, and this is a deep faith that we have. So years ago, 15 years ago, I formally started the foundation. Even before that, we were doing the foundation type work. But this, we formalized it. It's a 501c3 corporation here, and also we have one in India, same name. And we started two areas. One is for orphan children, and girls and boys. So we found out that Mother Teresa had her orphanage for girls, but she didn't have much ability to do the boys. So we took on the boys side, we meaning I, and we worked with them. So we took the boys, they took the girls, and we helped that process went on. And then we branched into cancer patients. So we have now 8 centers. 7 of them are in India, and one just opened this year in Johannesburg, South Africa. They're all for children and families and sick and those people who cannot care for themselves.
Outstanding.
I call them God's people.
Oh, fabulous. Fabulous. Dr. Lenny Peters, my goodness, you are a man of so many different fabrics. It's amazing. Thank you for sharing your journey with us today and sharing your book. Can you tell people where they can go to find you, your website for the foundation, where they can go and find the book?
Yeah, the book is Barefoot to Benefactor, and it is on Amazon. Yesterday was the release date, so it was a big celebration yesterday. We're releasing in 4 continents, and this is the book. So anyone can go to Amazon and put in Barefoot to Benefactor. It's easy to remember, B&B, Barefoot to Benefactor. And it'll show up, and you can buy, and 100%, and I put it as a badge here on the front, 100% of the proceeds go to orphan children and cancer patients.
Oh, that is outstanding. Dr. Lenny Peters, thank you so much for being with us today on the Books That Make You show. I appreciate it.
And the last thing is that my foundation, lennypetersfoundation.org, we have our own channel on YouTube. You can see all the videos and so on. You can visit there and get the book there also.
Excellent. We will check that out. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Books That Make You show. My name is Desiree Duffy, and you can find out more about us on our website. It's booksthatmakeyou.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and yes, we are on YouTube as well. Just make sure you ring the bell so you can subscribe and always be informed of the latest Books That Make You shows. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The executive producer for Books That Make You is Desiree Duffy. Produced and sound mastered by Phil Giangrande. Engineering by Dave Nabox. Social media and promotion by Bree Sweeter. For more, visit booksthatmakeyou.com.